If you don't think the comics portray the characters in this series better than the actual games do, I have one word for you. Shut up. Guys, this is very important. Did you know that 69% of you are not subscribed? That's nice, but not nice. If you like the video, please do consider subscribing because it helps me out a lot, and we wouldn't say this if it wasn't true. So thank you so much for your support. Hello everybody, I'm Garrulous64, and this is non-negotiable. The IDW comics are the best versions of these characters that we've ever had. Really, at this point, the only thing the games have going for them is that they are video games and not comics, and therefore, to me, is a more fun way to experience a story. But you know, now that I think about it, not a lot of people would actually use the fact that they are games as a pro rather than a con, seeing as how this series has historically been. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the IDW comics themselves. I was never really that into the Archie comics, and by the time I even really heard of them, there were already like over 100 issues, so I was like, okay, well, you know, I might have read like 6 years of Spider-Man comics in 2 months, but this is way too much Sonic for me. I'm sure the Archie comics are great, but I only really have the knowledge right now to talk about the IDW stuff. Maybe sometime in the future I could read through those as well and I could give more opinions. But I've always really loved supplementary material for games like this, or for any kind of franchise. Like, you take something that you already like, and then you get more of it. And sometimes people like it, and I mean, sometimes people don't. But I'm not talking supplementary materials like a board game adaptation. Like, that doesn't do too much for me. I'm saying like comic books and manga. Like, they take some of the things that I have personally enjoyed a lot, and they expand them into things that I like them even more. Like, for instance, I cannot play Persona 1. I've tried, and it does not vibe with me at all. But the manga is really cool, and it helped me get to know all these characters in the storyline, which is really great. Or, for instance, the Legend of Zelda series, where everyone already loves that. But the manga adaptations take it like another 10 steps and make Link into his own character, and he's so charismatic all the time, and he fits greatly into the story, and it's so much of a new and fun experience for that series, that I would really like to see that expanded upon in the games sometime. And also, Twilight Princess manga going on right now, pick that up, it's really, really good. And Link also has a weird fang in his human form that I thought maybe was foreshadowing like some kind of shady past, but I think it's just because he turns into a dog later. So that's clever. You know, I didn't see that coming. And the Sonic comics are no exception to that. They definitely enhance a lot of the things that I already like about the series, namely the characters. It also fleshes out the world a bit. Like, we get all these town names all of a sudden for these places in Sonic's world. Like I really like that Barricade Town is just a town with a barricade around it. Like when they invented that town when that was founded, that was the best they had. And I'm not gonna put this lightly, because if you've seen my history with certain characters in this franchise, let's say Zavik, characters that I've hated like entirely, like no redeeming qualities whatsoever, the IDW comics have actually made me like him more. They gave him enough of a consistent personality and just all of this stuff that I will talk about in another video that I actually really liked how he was portrayed in this comic. And coming from literal nothing in Lost World, that's a really big change. So today I figured we should just cover the introduction of the IDW series, because there are like 30-something comic books by now, and I do want to talk about all of them, especially if you want to hear me talk more about them. But we're going to start with issues 1 through 4, and I think that's probably a good place to start, because it sets the stage, and I think it does so in a very, very good manner. Okay, so as much as I don't want to think about this, forces happen directly before the start of this comic, so the world is still rebuilding, much like they were saying in the outro of the game. Sonic is running around, you know, doing his thing, and then he stops in a town because there's a whole bunch of scary robots about to cause some bad things. And you know we can't have that in this series. One thing you might notice is that there are no supporting characters around aside from like the background NPCs that don't really have any names anyways, it doesn't really matter. Sonic is the main focus because this is his comic book and this is the first time we're seeing him in this new incarnation. So what we see is, for I'd say probably more than half the book, Sonic is on his own, beating up robots, throwing down one-liners, and this dude is so arrogant and foolish and like brash, but in the most endearing and nostalgic way possible. Like, this is the Sonic that I really enjoy. It's the same thing with Spider-Man. Like, when they really write him well, it's like, ooh, that's a spicy spider ball. And as a contrast, as we know in the game, Sonic is very talkative, but he doesn't end up really saying much of value like 90% of the time, because usually it's either friendship, 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 or it's just him saying something that could be kind of funny, but it'll probably turn into a meme and people use it in like Twitter posts for the next 15 years, even though it's not really that funny. So only once we've had sufficient time to see how Sonic works now and to just get acquainted with that, then our first side character pops in, and that is our boy Tails the Fox, our player 2 since 1992? And as opposed to what we just saw in Forces, Tails does not just go, "Oh, Sonic! Ah!" Like, instead, he goes and saves Sonic's life without even, like, as much as, like, a one dialogue bubble. He just jumps in, and then Sonic is like, "Oh, you made it!" And Tails is like, "Ah! Robots!" So the two of them go beat down a whole bunch of robots like you do. They even reference Sonic 4 Episode 2 with one of their little combo moves. And I'm fine with it. Like, I don't care. I'm not playing the game, so sure, reference it all you want. The spice starts up once they're all done with the fight, though, because Tails is kind of like, "Hey, isn't it weird that these robot attacks are getting a little more coordinated over time?" And Sonic's like, "Oh, I haven't really noticed." But then he starts to think it's kind of weird, and he's like, "Don't you think Eggman would have said something by now? Because, you know, that one time he broadcast to the entire world about blowing up the moon." I mean, that was a pretty big deal, but, like, you know, he wasn't just gonna do that and then not send a text message or whatever. So both of them thinking that's pretty weird, they decide to look more into it. And this is pretty much setting up the mystery that we have going for the first 4 issues. And I do like me a bit of mystery, because I don't know if I mentioned it yet, Dr. Eggman is not around. Like, after the ending of Forces, usually he bounces back, but this time, nothing. He's just gone. It's like, and everyone's like, "Yeah, okay, this is pretty good." It's like they're waiting for the Jack in the Box to pop, you know, basically. That's how their state of living is. So Sonic and Tails obviously have that to talk about, and then Sonic is about to go off on his own again, but he's like, "Oh, you can come with me, Tails, if you want to." But Tails decides to be a big boy and help the townspeople clean up their town because he could probably be of use. But there is this really nice moment where they actually use a story beat from Forces that was very underutilized. You know, that whole thing where Sonic was kidnapped and Tails had lost it. They really didn't do anything with that. Translation error or not, like, that's... You could have done something with that. Like, Tails actually falters here when Sonic is talking about going off on his own because he imagines Sonic getting hurt again. And it's very nice to see these characters in a different light like that, because usually they're just all about running around and being all loud and obnoxious. But, like, when it gets real, it's like, that's like real, genuine fear. That's like genuine friendship and caring about someone. And I think that's another thing this comic really does well so far, because, like, in the games, Sonic does not really feel like he has friends. He feels like he has people that he has to be around when the world's in danger, and then he gets out of there as fast as possible whenever he can. But here, it's like Sonic and Tails are fully in sync fighting these things, and they know exactly what to do to complement one or the other, and they're doing all these, like, little things, like, with all their facial expressions, and, like, just acting like total goobers. Well, they're just having a great time being together and hanging around. And I buy that. Like, they wrote this very realistically. And it just makes me want more of that in the actual games. Getting out of full rant mode, though, Sonic runs off at the end of the comic, Tails stays behind, and someone on, like, some weird monitors is actually watching them the entire time. Like, it's some new Sonic cartoon. Sonic Prime on Netflix, not Amazon Prime. That was probably kind of a weird day for those guys, huh? It's very spooky, very mysterious. We know the person's sitting in an Eggman Empire chair, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's Dr. Eggman. But then again, maybe it could be, and he's just kind of biding his time. We'll see in the future, I guess. But forget about that for now. We got issue 2 to talk about. And who do we get reintroduced to here? It is Amy Rose. Previously a really terrible character, especially in the video games. But, you know, over the years, things have gotten a lot better with her. Like, Sonic Boom really made her a better character. Sonic Forces even had some good characterization for her, in my opinion. And, you know, the way I talk about Forces is not very positive most of the time, so, you know, cherish that one. That one was for free, I guess. Issue 2 starts off with Sonic flaunting and, you know, doing his thing, fighting one of the gigantic mechanical crab badniks from Forces. Once he takes care of it, he goes down to the citizens that he just helped, and the crab is actually still there, and it's either going to explode or it's sliding towards them, I can't really tell. And then, out of nowhere, Amy Rose just, like if I had a hammer, I would have showed you exactly what she did. Not with a real crab though. So then immediately after that, Amy, much like you would see a real person do, kind of like goofs on Sonic a little bit for getting all sloppy with how he's doing his stuff. And, you know, the two fire back and forth, but Sonic's really not that interested, because usually when Amy shows up, it's just to chase him around. But she kind of surprises him this time, because she is not looking to just hang out with him, she's actually looking for him to come back to the Resistance, because, you know, the robot problem is still a problem. Like, just because Eggman is gone doesn't mean that the robots went away. No one's really making new ones that they know about. But it's still a big issue, especially because, as Sonic points out, after he refuses her offer very sternly, the robot attacks have been getting more coordinated, and now there's this huge event with this giant super badnik attacking a town, just while it happens that Sonic and Amy are both in the vicinity. And they were both very key players in the Resistance. So yeah, it's a little like, it's this mystery, I'm telling you. Tails was right for once. But during this conversation, the best background character, Lanolin the Sheep, IDW exclusive, I think, she shows up and she's like, hey, there's an army coming from the other side of town. Y'all gotta get over there, because we're not prepared for this. And they are like, oh my god, this was intentional. The crab was actually a diversion. Can you believe it? It was a twist I didn't see coming. So Sonic obviously runs off at the speed of sound to go and take care of as many as he can, while Amy is led to the Resistance part of the town, and she takes control. Not in like a bad way, but like she just starts going and getting everybody mobilized, and she's sending people exactly where they need to be, and she's giving people these perfect instructions, and Sonic actually messes up a little bit. He lets too many get by him, but then Amy is able to take care of it in her own way. Like, this is showing really perfectly how each of these characters functions as their own, and how they can work really well in tandem. And we haven't even seen them fighting as a pair yet. It was brains and brawn, and it worked like clockwork. Okay, with the army inside the walls dealt with, Sonic and Amy head outside again. They start fighting badniks out there, and what I really like about this is, again, it's like that really close friend connection thing, because they're just fighting robots, having this back and forth conversation about Sonic joining the Resistance again, and it's like, do it for me, and he's like, no. Do it for your friends, and he's like, no. And he's like, do it for a chili dog, Scooby snack, and he went, rare. And obviously that was a joke, so like, you know, Amy's just like frustrated. But then, like, she hits Sonic like a golf ball up into the ship, and it explodes, and I think at that point both of them, for some reason, see it the other way. You know, like, they both understand, or at least Amy does. Because Amy actually turns down Sonic's invitation to go with him, which is something that character would not have done, you know, ever. These last few pages really make me see the respect between these two, though. Because, like, sure, Sonic can't stand her sometimes, but there is things about her that it's just like, you can't help but respect. Like, she really stepped up when she needed to, and that's cool. That's a really cool character, that she's not just one thing, and then, you know, that's it. I think that's called having actual character, you know, as opposed to being a personality in the video games. It is now the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for making it here, and if you did make it here, please let me know. And again, if you would like to see more videos about the comics, because I would like to make them. And that's not all I'd like to do. I'd also like to say, if you like this video and you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, click the bell, follow my Twitter, and join the Discord to keep up with more Sonic and other things that aren't Sonic, because I do a lot of things. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my current supporters, who are Kaido the Samurai, Danny Lee Dauber, Mike TGC, Chaotic Mercenary, Raiden Still Plays, Crystal, PM13, Crazy Sean DX, Chaosk, Ty Little Tech Guy, Zealous Indolent, J. Remy, Lucas the Tall Man, and Mega Traffic Cone. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, and I also would like to thank all the people in the $1 tier for doing the same. Remember, even $1 helps, and it gets you access to the blooper episodes and stuff like that, stuff in the Discord. But if you want to hear more about that, please click the join button below, or check out the Patreon link, or just come ask me in the Discord. Feel free. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.